How do you know that? Prove it. I don't believe you.
Do you love your wife? Yes. Prove it.
The belief that we can't have knowledge and the requirement of certainty to possess knowledge have destroyed people's confidence in everything from their own existence to reality. Think about these two completely opposed views of knowledge. You can't know anything, or you must have certainty to know anything at all. Are either of these claims to knowledge true? In this video, I'm going to show you how to think about knowledge and, more specifically, reveal how we can know what we know. Stick around to the end of the video and I'll show you how to respond to the doubting scars.
So, your father showed you the whole kingdom, did he?
Everything.
He didn't show you what's beyond that rise at the northern border.
And certain Gaston.
Gaston, what a pleasant surprise.
Isn't it though? I'm just full of surprises.
Before we get to that, we need to understand what understanding is. When I was young, I believed people were gifted with a certain set of abilities, and that was their lot. Those were the cards dealt. Intelligence was not one of the things that I believed I had, and it started back in the 3rd grade. I was reading aloud in class and came across a word I'd never seen before. I thought, surely this is a misprint, for this book contains a made-up word. The word? Gigantic. The whole class laughed. The teacher frowned and I continued reading as if nothing happened, but inside, I died. You may be more familiar with its proper pronunciation, gigantic.
Today, Junior!
Wait, the same letter has 2 different sounds in the same word? Gigantic? Looking back on that experience is a fantastic opportunity to evaluate what happened, but also the perfect springboard for what might be holding you back from critical thinking. When I saw that huge word, which actually meant huge, which is fitting,
Ginormous.
I made a split-second decision. G makes 2 sounds, G and J. There's 2 G's at the beginning of this sentence, so they both must say the same sound. Time's running out. Everyone's looking at me. Gigantic. We went with gigantic? They're laughing. Keep reading. I'm an idiot. Reading is tough, and reading English even tougher. But now I don't wrestle with gigantic, the word. I wrestle with gigantic, the problems. We're not born with knowledge. We have potential for knowledge, but we have to grow in our experience, knowledge, and wisdom to operate in our world. How can I say anyone can become smarter? Because we've already done it, have been doing it, and will continue to do so our entire lives.
I know Kung Fu.
Some just stick to it longer or have better teachers. My name is Jack, and I used to believe intelligence was something innate. You either had it or you didn't, and I didn't. That is, of course, until I did. Anyone can become more intelligent. They just need to know where to start. I discovered intelligence is an ability anyone can improve, something everyone can develop. And in fact, the very definition of intelligence is the ability to acquire and apply knowledge and skill. I want to welcome you to Critical Thinker, where you'll learn how to become brilliant. Throughout my undergrad, graduate, and doctoral education, I've discovered 12 realms of critical thinking.
Open your eyes.
You can click on the video here to learn what they are if you haven't been introduced yet. This video is about the realm of knowledge. What is it? How can I gain it? Where does it begin? We can have knowledge. Now, there are some who would oppose this position. They might say, you can't know anything.
It's true.
You see, he admits it. Murder.
No, it was an accident.
If it weren't for you, Mufasa would still be alive. It's your fault he's dead. Do you deny it?
No.
Then you're guilty.
These are hardcore skeptics, doubting their way into oblivion. The problem with the skeptic is, firstly, they never doubt their own doubts. Secondly, they're claiming to have knowledge that you cannot have knowledge, which is self-defeating and contradictory. Knowledge, more specifically the branch of philosophy called epistemology, is concerned with how we know reality. What causes knowledge? Makes it possible? How do you know what you know? Epistemology is the study of justified or warranted belief. What color is the table? Do you know what makes it that color? The relationship between the light being reflected off the object, absorbing all colors except brown? Must you provide evidence for what makes the table brown, or can you know the table is brown without knowing the science behind it? What color is a mirror? Are you justified and do you have warranted belief to make that claim to knowledge? Can you know things without knowing how you know them? Or do we need justification for how we know something to be true? There are schools of thought that claim we can't know something unless we can provide the evidence for how we know it. The question that we can ask them is, what evidence can you provide to support that claim? Descartes famously said, how does the mind move from knowledge of itself to knowledge of things? How can the mind come to know more than its own thoughts? Descartes held that knowledge begins in the mind and moves to things. This is known as the critical problem. If everything I know begins in my mind, how do I know I came to believe things in a trustworthy and justified way? We shouldn't look at knowledge in this way. Remember Descartes' famous statement, I think, therefore I am. He placed thought before existence, which is, as addressed in our previous video, backwards. So if you begin your philosophical enterprise on the wrong foundations, everything that follows will be built upon faulty ground. We must reject Descartes' thinking towards existence in favor of a common sense approach. We begin with existence, things that are real, and move towards the intellect. We assume a physical world exists with no need for justification that it exists. This is called common sense realism, or a properly basic belief. Things exist independently of my mind. They're really there. So what is knowledge of reality? It's the study of linking one's psychology of knowledge, what is going on in the mind, with the metaphysics of knowledge and truth. Think internal mind matching external reality, which we call knowledge. Epistemology today is addressing one's position on the nature of human knowledge and its relation to the extramental world. That is what's outside of our mind. There are as many epistemologies as there are ways of understanding. Because of this, the field of epistemology is not a distinct arena on its own, but a branch of any given philosophy, science, or metaphysics. Epistemology is not a science in and of itself, but a part of every science of knowing. For example, we have different standards of what constitutes knowledge in chemistry.
Dilophosaurus venom. One drop of this can paralyze you, so watch out. Is this real?
Than we do for, say, history.
The invention of Coca-Cola, America's favorite soft drink. So he decided to use a new ingredient, coca. Coca is from a plant. South Americans would chew it and be like, we had so much energy, we weren't even hungry, we hiked the whole Andes. But really, they were just on cocaine.
So, what are some of the realms of knowledge to help us understand what reality is? Here they are. Number 1, self-evidentials. Check out the video for an introduction on foundationalism, also known as self-evidential truths. This is the foundation of reality that we call properly basic. We need no justification for their existence. They just exist. And to try to disprove them is nonsensical and often contradictory. Logic, existence, mathematics, some propositions, once grasped, are understood as tacitly true. There are no married bachelors. This is a self-evidential statement. Because once we understand the definition of married and bachelor, we automatically know them to be contradictory. Number 2, sense experience. Seeing, hearing, tasting, touching, smelling.
Do not go in there. Woo!
We experiment with our 5 senses. We test, prove, and evaluate many things in the physical world with sense experience. This is a most essential form of knowing, but not the only way of knowing. Under this realm of knowing is the ability or skill to perform a task or set of behaviors. I can surf, I can ski, I can play basketball, I can assemble packaging containers, I can program computers, I can speak Italian, ride a bike, the list goes on. This type of know-how, when developed, can become something that someone does without too much conscious awareness. Repeated practice increases proficiency until the task becomes something you know how to do well. How can we test or prove someone possesses this kind of knowledge? Have them do it. Do you really know how to hit a curveball? Design a flower arrangement? Drive a car? Prove it by doing it, or relaying information that only someone who is adept at that task would know. This is easier to tell if someone truly possesses the knowledge because they can either do it or they can't. Contestants on American Idol can either sing or they can't. Of course, there's a degree of proficiency and the better ones make it farther in the competition, but those contestants who can't sing don't make it very far based upon the criteria of possessing the ability to sing.
What do you think I'm going to say to you?
No.
Correct. Goodbye.
Number 3, reason conveyed by propositions. Propositions are information expressed by sentences. Propositions expressed by declarative sentences have properties of being true or being false as far as the information lines up with the way the world really is, the way reality is. Propositional knowledge is known as justified true belief. One essential condition of knowledge is that what one knows is in fact true. We'll be covering theories of truth when we're done with this video on epistemology, but understand that knowledge and truth are closely related. You can't claim knowledge if what it is you're believing is false. Belief does not make something true. Truth should inform our beliefs. Just because we really want something to be true has no influence on whether it is. Number 4, memory. The form of knowledge obtained in our minds from past experiences. The only caveat to this being that you have a properly functioning mind.
I guess I've already told you about my condition.
Oh, well, only every time I see you.
It's my memory.
Amnesia.
No. It's different from that. I have no short-term memory.
Number 5, cause and effect relationships. We can know things by the relationship of cause and effect. Aristotle explored this concept, helping us to understand the types of causes. He discovered 7 causes, and to help us understand them, we're going to look at the causes of a hammer. A, the material cause, that by which something is made from, the materials that make it up. Why is the hammer heavy? Because of its matter, steel and wood. This is the material cause. B, the formal cause, that of which it is made, the form, the blueprint or plan. Why does the hammer look the way it does? Because of the arrangement of its parts. This is the formal cause. C, the efficient cause, that through which something is made, the agent. Why does the hammer exist at all? Because someone produced it for a purpose. This is the efficient cause. D, the final cause, that for the sake of which something is done, the purpose or the goal. Why is the hammer effective at hammering and pulling nails? Because that is its design, its final cause, its purpose. E, the instrumental cause, that through which something is made, the instrument or tool. This could be a kiln or a forge, maybe a hammer-making machine, the instrumental cause. F, the intrinsic cause, that which is shared with the effect. What was passed from the human to the hammer? The immaterial design in the mind of the hammer maker. G, the extrinsic cause, that which is not shared with the effect. What was not passed from what made the hammer? A human made the hammer but didn't pass their mind or body to the hammer itself. Otherwise, the hammer would be a human or a human-hammer hybrid.
Hammer time!
Imagine the knowledge you would gain by looking at the cause and effect relationship between things. Sometimes, late at night, I'll start baking or cooking something after the kids have gone to bed. My wife will be working on something but hear me rattling around in the kitchen. We play this game to see how well she knows me. Because we've been married for over 15 years, she knows the cause and effects of what makes me, me. So I make her guess what I'm up to. 9 times out of 10, she guesses it right. Now, she isn't just guessing based upon my preferences because I have quite the repertoire of things I like to make, but she incorporates what she knows about me, what she hears me doing in the kitchen, and what I've made recently to deduce what it is I'm craving. Look at how many realms of knowledge she employs to arrive at an accurate answer. Logic, experience, sound, smell, memory, deduction, inference, cause and effect relationships, emotions. Did he have a good day? Did he have a bad day? The list goes on. Suffice it to say, my wife really has knowledge of me. One final realm of knowledge, metaphysical knowledge.
Let's get physical.
Much of the metaphysical world is made up of self-evidential truths, objects, which we've already covered in this video here. Logic needs no justification or warrant for its existence. It is properly basic, foundational, or a first principle. Sometimes with self-evidential truths, we prove them by trying to disprove them. If I say logic doesn't exist, I must employ logic to attempt to disprove it. Mathematics is a metaphysical reality, something whose principles work outside the physical world, but it relates to the physical world, which is part of how we know it's true and that it works. 2 + 2 = 4 because it's a truth, and we know it's a truth once we understand the meaning of the numbers.
That's not the way you're supposed to do it, Dad. They want us to do it.
I don't know that way. Why would they change math? Math is math.
Okay,
Math
Dad.
is math.
Other minds exist, and we need not justify why or how we know that. On common sense realism, we know this to be true, but humans come up with all sorts of nonsense, bringing into question even our own existence, which is itself contradictory, for you must exist to deny your own existence. If you come to this video questioning your very existence, you're welcome. You exist, man.
Dust. Wind. Dude.
Likewise, we know the external world is real and not a figment of our imagination. You're not a brain in a vat, and there are consequences to your beliefs and actions in reality. Moral principles are objective, immaterial objects. We need not justify why torturing a baby for fun is wrong. Everyone short of insanity knows this. Calling something beautiful reaches beyond the physical, though it's on display in the tangible world. When I call my wife beautiful, it's based upon her face, her figure, her hair, eyes, her smile, but it also reaches beyond that to love, personality, mind, behavior, action, character, will, intellect, and emotions. Her ability to guess what I'm cooking at 11 p.m. at night. How does she do that? Most of these beautiful features are not physical actions, or at least they're not physically motivated. How about the arrangement and composition of music? Music is a metaphysical reality. Some notes sound good together, and an entire system has been discovered and developed based upon the waves of certain notes and their relationship to each other. Unless you're a jazz fan. Discordant notes don't require a composer to tell us they don't sound good together. The sound they produce are physical, and our ability to pick them up with our ears is also physical. But the structure of why certain notes sound good together and others don't is non-physical. The existence of properties raised the age-old debate concerning what medieval thinkers called universals. For unlike particulars, properties don't seem to be confined to a specific place. For example, if we have two particular balls existing at the same time, they each occupy a distinct spatial location. If they occupied exactly the same space, then we wouldn't have two, but one ball. But properties seem to be different. Suppose the two balls have the same shape. In that case, they each have the same property. Thus, the same property exists at the same time in two distinct locations. Moreover, the property exists wholly in those two places simultaneously. That's precisely why properties are called universals. If they really exist, they have the bizarre property of existing in two distinct places at the same time. There are many features of reality where properties are shared in two distinct objects. Say the balls were both red, both made of rubber. They share in the same properties, are the same thing, but they are two separate objects. Properties then must have their existence in something beyond the physical, though they can be perceived in the physical. Now you know. This is not an exhaustive list on how we know things, but it's a good starting point for knowing what you know, how you know it, and what degree of proof or evidence is required to be able to claim knowledge. We don't need to justify all beliefs, for some are properly basic, with no need of evidence for how or why we know them to be true. How do I know that? I just do. We started this video looking at doubt and certainty. Here's how we handle those who demand certainty or claim we can't have knowledge at all. To the skeptic who denies knowledge can be known, we would ask if they know that. Get it? To the demand of certainty, we would simply ask if they are certain that you can't know anything without certainty. Going further, we could ask if they knew what they had for breakfast. After they gave us the response on their demand of certainty, we could demand to have their stomach pumped so we could go through the contents of their meals to determine if they certainly did have scrambled eggs with bacon. We don't need certainty for a great many things. In fact, most of our daily lives aren't built upon certainty, but self-evidential truths, sensory experience, and memory. But now you know the realms of knowledge, and to what degree we can know what we know. Do we have to be able to justify what we know with evidence? In some instances, but less than we would think. If someone demands that we justify how we know something, can we ask them to justify how they know one must offer justification for what it is they know? We shouldn't doubt all knowledge is unattainable, and we don't need certainty to claim knowledge. Hopefully, this video helped you to know the type of knowledge and understanding required given the related subject. Does your brain feel gigantic now? If you're curious about the 12 realms of critical thinking, click on the video to up your critical thinking game. And until next time, critical thinkers, think deeply.